I hope all is well. Uh, Welcome to our session. I'm Brian Jones, and I'm a trainer in heartfulness meditation. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about one of the aspects of meditation. Actually, I'm going to talk about what happens in between the times that we're meditating. The meditation part is wonderful, but what about the times that we're not meditating? Like right now, I'm faced with this challenge. Is that just outside my window there? Cutting down a tree or something. So it's really loud. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's just another thing. You have to just be able to put that aside and to keep going. So, all right. So I think many people who might be tuning in today have been participated in the event last weekend that we had, big international meditation event that was based out of Kana with Daji. So that was really an amazing experience. I'm sure all of you got a lot out of that. I know that it was real life changing for me. So today I was going to talk about something called what we call constant remembrance. Now, when we hear about meditation, I know the reality is that we're living such busy lives that even making time for meditation can be difficult. And that takes a while to develop that as a steady routine. And the reason that it takes a while is just that our mind starts telling us, oh, maybe I should be doing this right now, or, I can't just sit here with all my thoughts. And so it takes a while to develop this positive habit of doing a daily meditation practice. So that's one thing. But the meditation actually, there's an objective when we take up meditation. And the objective is that we want to get to a point where we can stay in the meditative state that we experience when we go deep in meditation. We want to be able to remain in the meditative state when we're not meditating. That is actually the object of taking up meditation. Okay, it's not that we're going to spend all the rest of our life meditating every day. Eventually, if we do put in a lot of sincere practice, eventually a day comes when that deep meditative state, that beautiful feeling of peace and presence, it's just there with you all the time, 24/7. So we call that, in heartfulness, we call that constant remembrance. And this is a topic that gets talked about a lot. And I get asked a lot of questions about constant remembrance. And the main question that I get asked is, how do I have constant remembrance? Right? I know that whoever's tuning in right now, if you've been doing heartfulness, you have probably asked or wondered about this very question. So I thought today I will give you some of my own tips from my own personal heartfulness journey. And if you can put some of these to use, great. But I'm going to give you these tips in the hopes that you yourself will come up with some really new ways of doing this. Okay, so let me set up the scenario. It was back in 1990, I think, and yes, that's right. And my wife and I, we had just moved to a new city because I was taking on a new role in the job that I had, and it was a real time of transition. But it was also a time when I had some extra spare time between my work routine. And I decided to myself, one day, I am going to do everything I can do because I want to get to this stage of constant remembrance where I'm just meditating all the time, or in that meditative state all the time. That was my objective. So the thing was, how am I going to do that? Well, I came up with a lot of creative ways to continue that feeling of meditation throughout my day. So, the very first thing that I took up was in the morning, before I would get out of bed, I would bring my awareness, bring my attention to my heart, and I would try to feel that beautiful feeling of presence. For me, I call it my teacher's presence, my guru's presence, my master's presence, that spiritual presence that you feel when you're around a real enlightened master of that sort. There's a radiance, there's a field that you feel that. So every single morning, I would lay in bed, and it would probably take 10, 15 minutes of just coming to the heart, returning to the heart, and just waiting to feel that presence. And I would start to get that meditative presence. And then I'd be fine. Then I'd get out of bed and start my day. Well, one thing I found was that after doing this for about 2 weeks every single day, one morning I woke up and it was just there. I felt like I had been meditating all night long. It was just amazing. And I got up and went about my day. And of course, it started, wore off as I got engaged with work and all this. So then I added some things to this. And so what I would do is I would make the thought every time I would take a sip of water, I would make the suggestion, every particle. Well, let's just do it live here. Wait a minute. This is water. I would make the suggestion just for a few seconds. Every particle of this water is filled with remembrance. And then I take a sip. I did this every single time that I would even just take one sip of water. I would make that thought. When I would sit down to eat, I would have the same thought. I would make the thought that every particle of this food is filled with remembrance. The other thing that I started doing was at the end of my morning meditation, I would give myself a suggestion. And the suggestion was, when I arrive at my workplace, that feeling of remembrance is there waiting for me. My wife was added one. She said that when she would get in her car to drive to work, that she would have the thought, even before she got to her car, that the feeling of remembrance, that meditative state, was already there in the car waiting for her. So, look, these sound like funny things to do. But what is it that's actually happening? Well, what's actually happening is you're giving a suggestion to yourself. You're using your conscious mind to plant a suggestion that your subconscious mind starts then to create for you. So I'll tell you, after doing these little things for about maybe 4 to 6 weeks, one day I was at the sink. I think I was just washing dishes or whatever, and I realized, oh, I still feel that presence inside. It's just with me. And I went throughout my day and I would just check in. And the check-in was, oh, that feeling is still with me. And I remember all that day, I just was absolutely amazed that no matter what I was involved with, that the feeling was always there and wasn't going away. The next day I got up, that feeling was there, that remembrance was there. And ever since that time, I have felt that presence, and it's unbroken, 24/7, all the time, never goes away. It's always there. That's what we call constant remembrance. And I'd like to share my story about it with you because I want to give you these tips because this is something we all can do, but it takes a little bit of, effort. So I want to say a few more things about remembrance just to clarify is that when we talk about remembrance, we always, tend to think of remembrance as a function of our mind that, oh, I'm going to use my mind. I'm going to remember something from my past, right? We try to remember something. So we equate it as a function of the mind. But the heart's remembrance is not that. When we can evoke the heart's remembrance, the heart isn't time based. The heart feels, and feeling is just one thing. It's not a flow of thought like the mind is. The mind's more like a computer, but the heart is not. The heart feels. So the heart is this one feeling. And when we enliven this remembrance, the heart's remembrance, the heart welcomes that. That is the heart's natural state. The heart's natural state is to be abiding in its own inner presence. And that presence is, we can call it so many things. We can say it's contentment. We can say it's a feeling of happiness. We can say it's, we can say it's whatever we want to call it. But it's just a feeling for me of connectedness. Now, the mind does play a role in getting this constant remembrance going. And I think of this like a two-stage rocket ship. Okay. So we all know, we've seen these rockets take off so many times. And the main part of the rocket is the big fuel part. And it takes that much fuel and power to raise this spaceship out of the Earth's atmosphere. So we have to overcome the Earth's gravitational pull as well as the weight of the atmosphere itself. Okay. So this is the first stage of remembrance where we're having to use the mind actively to apply some efforts continually. That's the first stage. And then this rocket ship, when it gets to a certain point out of the Earth's atmosphere, that big stage just falls away. And now the capsule is just able to float effortlessly through space. That's the heart's remembrance. So at first, we use our mind to try and remember, to try and give ourselves suggestions, to be sincere about that process, to be determined about that process, to make a conviction about doing it. And when we've applied all of those efforts, the heart starts to remember. And here's another tip is when the heart starts to remember and you, at first it's so subtle, but when you realize, oh, I'm feeling this, remembrance is with me, then you have to totally let go of that first stage. We can let go of the mind. We no longer have to make those kind of efforts. And instead, and here's the most important tip, instead we can just rest on the heart. You just rest on the heart. We rest on the heart in the very same way that we lay our head on the pillow at night and just let go. That's how we should do it. Just let go and rest on the presence in the heart. And that is constant remembrance. It's a funny thing that, sometimes in this, spirituality field, we hear all the various words of, love, faith, devotion, bhakti. There's many different ways and many different angles that we sort of look at our practice. Faith is another one. And one word that we hear on occasion is surrender. We can't surrender because I is always there struggling with surrendering. So surrender is not a direct practice. It's actually a result. And we think surrender is something, that we need to do. But surrender is actually the most natural thing. And we do it every single night. When we lay our head on the pillow at night, we just let go. What happens? We're going into complete non existence. We're willingly giving up all knowledge of our life, all knowledge of ourself, gladly, and laying our head on the pillow and just can't wait to disappear. But yet, when we're awake, this idea of surrender creates so much havoc for us. Because when we're awake, we have that innate fear of death, fear of not existing. And we forget that we do it every single night, right? So this word resting, is a really critical word to understand and to apply in our spiritual practice. We rest on the presence in the heart. We rest on it. And I'm very sure, I know that one of our masters, Babaji, had said, if you practice constant remembrance continuously for 7 days, you will have it, forever. Well, I don't know if anybody has done it in 7 days. Well, congrats to you if you have. I couldn't do it in 7 days, but look, don't worry about the 7 days. Okay, don't worry about the 7 days. Just take up some of these tips and some of these suggestions to yourself. And, in maybe 6 weeks, maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months, we're just showing to ourselves that we have a sincere effort to get to that state. So I invite you all to take that up as part of your practice. And look, let me add one more thing. I kind of did it from a little bit of a selfish perspective. Maybe I was maybe I was lazy. I don't know. I was a pretty good meditator, but maybe I was lazy. And maybe I thought to myself, okay, if I have constant remembrance, then I don't have to worry about doing my meditation all the time. So you can look at it that way too. But in any case, I've been around in this organization of Heartfulness for a long time, since Babaji's days. I mean, many of you know that about me. So, Babaji, and I spent every year of, with Chariji and now Noendaji for so long. And I've heard them say so many times over and over and over again, sometimes I've heard Daji say, why are you still meditating? We need to think about that. We need to think about that. And I mean, yes, for a long time we do our practice, but eventually the day comes when, you have it and it's yours for keeps. It's always there. So that's what I wanted to share with all of you today. And now I'd like to meditate with you. I hope that's okay. I think especially I've noticed since the Bandara, or the celebration we had last weekend for Babaji's birthday, what a new and wonderful condition that has really opened up, I think, for all of us. And I'm going to say it like this. I say it's a grand opportunity has opened up. I feel like all of the worries of the past has all been wiped clean, and we've been given a new, fresh slate, like wiping off everything on the blackboard. We're given this fresh beginning. And when we meditate now, I think we're all going to be able to feel that, a new depth in our meditation. So I want to meditate with you all today. And we're going to meditate for about 25, 30 minutes. And if you're meditating with us for the first time, you know, when I say we're going to meditate for 20 or 30 minutes, that sounds like a long time. Don't worry. In heartfulness, it's very easy to get to the point where you're becoming deeply absorbed inside in this meditative state. So just be patient. I'm going to guide us into the meditation. We'll sit silently together for about 20 minutes, and then you will clearly hear me say, "That's all," and I will bring us gently out of the meditation, and then we'll conclude. So, with that, please, let's join in together and meditate. Okay? So, please sit comfortably. Again, I don't know if you're hearing the noise outside my window, but you know, noises are a help to make us learn meditation. They help us to go within. They make us better meditators. So let's close our eyes and let's start by taking a slow, deep breath in and let it go. And just feel your body relax. Let your arms relax and your hands settle in your lap. Allow your shoulders to drop down. And one more slow, deep breath in. Let it go. Very gently, let your attention just drop down out of your head and rest on your heart. Be aware of the area of your heart and that you're resting there. Now let's rest on the source of light, the source of lightness, the source of love that's already there present in our heart. And feel the source is inviting you deep within. Let's stay with this thought. That's all. Please remain with your eyes closed. And just make the thought that this peaceful meditative state is now expanding into your conscious mind. And as we open our eyes, simply have the thought that this inner condition will carry us forward through the rest of our day. Oh, okay. So I see we've got a good group of people on here today. Just want to say hi to some of you. Ramakant, Paru, Gopal, Sarita, Reka, Vanita, Devadas, SS, Chandrani, Murugasan, Sylvia, Jagruti, VMM Reddy, Pavrita, Kavita, Lakshmial. I may have not pronounced that right. Mona, Babu. Anyway, a lot of people tuning in today. Jason, hi. Really, really glad that you're, able to attend these Thursday sessions. And I'll keep going. Catherine Johnson. Hey, Catherine. Swati. Hi, Swati. So I look forward to seeing you again next week. And I'll take up another topic, share from my experience, and look forward to seeing you then. And until that time, as I always say, is just stay with the heart. Love to all. Take care. Bye now.